Let's talk about skill-based matchmaking in Call of Duty. It's a very controversial topic right now. A lot of streamers are telling you that you do not like SBMM. And we're here to dig into what skill-based matchmaking is, why you probably feel the way you do, and even what some experts have to say about it. I'm sure that you have a lot of thoughts on this, so make sure to hop into the chat below and let us know what you think. Did we get things right? Did we get things wrong? While you're at it, give us the old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it. All right, so what is skill-based matchmaking? Skill-based matchmaking is a multiplayer system designed to basically place you with people of the same skill level, and there are a lot of ways that it can go wrong, as Call of Duty players have been noticing. SBMM can take into account a lot of things about you, like your kill-death ratio, your win-loss ratio, your ping, how you perform in groups versus solo, and even how often you quit for the night after losing matches. It feeds into other ideas like ranked, which is a visual measure of how good you are, and engagement, which is how often you play. And speaking of engagement, we've been hearing a lot of Call of Duty streamers say they've been falling off. Richie, why do you think that streamers are the most vocal about skill-based matchmaking?
In general, they're the most vocal because they're the better of the players. They rank high in good lobbies, and they get affected most by skill-based matchmaking and cheating a lot. So they're the vocal ones because for those reasons, and also it's a lot of people's job on YouTube to talk about it, or job to stream it on Twitch. And it's becoming very difficult to play a game that's turning their back on them in terms of all these problems. But for the average Joe, like maybe me, I'm not in a diamond lobby very much. In the middle of the pack somewhere and below, it may not seem like a big problem because the average Joe plays in medium skilled lobbies with medium skilled players that the hackers just buzz right over, then go to the top ranked diamond lobbies. I'm personally somewhere in the middle, and I get cheaters sometimes. For me, it's fortunately we can turn off cross play. I'm not on PC, I'm on PlayStation 5, but even then there are contraptions that make your controller aimbot people. So I still feel the wrath in a regular, decently skilled lobby, but on the higher end of things, they're feeling all those hackers and cheaters every match, it seems. And that's really affecting the way they play, their fan base, their love of the game. It's all sort of going downhill.
What are some of the things that make streaming more challenging with skill-based matchmaking, kind of cheaters aside, because they are a problem?
It's still hard in some ways because you want to have a nice stream for your audience, especially people on or make good content on YouTube. I follow a lot of people like Drifter or Exclusive Ace who like to break down things, but also stream for their audience. It's a great way to engage fans and even get to play with them. It's already hard in these lobbies because they're sweaty enough playing in these diamond rank lobbies, and that's where the lower end of things is totally different. If you're matchmaking with people of less skill, you can make more mistakes and it's more forgiving. But in the higher ranked lobbies, you can't make a single mistake, otherwise you're screwed. It's hard to just entertain people and do your job. Or if it revolves around Call of Duty, it's not so, I don't want to say relaxed, but it's not it can drop in the fun level, like you want to have a fun casual stream for your fans, and it's not always the case. In fact, lately it's never the case anymore. A lot of people are starting to slowly fall off because of it too.
My gameplay experience has gone down the tubes, and I'm just wanting to play Warzone without someone beaming me across the map because they have aimbot. I want to know that if
So that's how skill-based matchmaking has affected the people we like to watch and us as the casual player. But Aaron, it sounds like you've dug into some more stats and studies about skill-based matchmaking and how it works. You want to talk about that?
Oh man, it's a pretty deep rabbit hole, but I went and I looked up some studies on skill-based matchmaking, particularly those by an individual named Josh Menke, who's worked on Call of Duty and Halo. He's done a lot of GDC talks on Halo. This is from more the developer side of things, and I'm paraphrasing this. Skill-based matchmaking from a developer perspective seems to be more about perception of fairness. And the argument is that skill-based matchmaking is good for players as long as you can control how it's implemented. So you don't want these massive skill gaps. And there's two kinds of skill gaps. There's the individual skill gap and there's a team skill gap. And one of them is more important. I'll get into that in a second. Skill-based matchmaking is actually in a lot of games and you don't know it. So for example, he was saying that in Halo 2, the difference between casual and ranked was just that ranked told you what your rank was. And that's relevant because right now, I think for the first time, Warzone players, because of an external website, are finally able to see what their actual rank is in the game. But what that says is that your perception of fairness basically comes from what the game tells you. Is the game telling you what lobbies you're in, or is it not? If it's not telling you what lobbies you're in, then there's a danger that players can think that they can't win a match. Now, it's possible that skill-based matchmaking is being done poorly. There's a lot of mechanics in games, or movies too, like sound, or your gamepad control in a game, that are invisible unless they're done really well or they're done really poorly. But like somewhere in the middle, they kind of disappear. And skill-based matchmaking is the same thing. When it's done well, you probably won't notice it that much, but when it's done poorly, you'll notice it a lot. All right, so let's go back to the idea of the skill gap and that you can't win. One study that they looked at in Halo 5 was whether players actually leave when they think they can't win because of skill-based matchmaking. And what they said was that your personal skill gap, like when you come around a corner in a 1v1 fight, is a little bit less important than the team one, which kind of makes sense, right? Like if you're on a team that's just getting absolutely stomped, you're going to leave for the night. So there's a little bit more wiggle room for like 1v1 fights, and people won't leave. They won't rage quit a game so much if the skill-based matchmaking isn't quite as good in that regard. But people still want a good competitive match. They don't necessarily want really, really, really tight skill-based matchmaking where they have that 1-1 KD, because that's not fun to kill trade, right? Like every time you come around a corner, if it's a 50-50 shot, that's not particularly fun. So, they quantify this, and they want like a kind of a looser skill-based matchmaking in games. So there's a pretty wide range of people you come around a corner and fight on a 1v1. Now that's very different when it comes to team-based matchmaking. In one specific study in Halo 5, they said that a team of 4 can scare off up to 20 people per hour. Well, like I'm talking about people who just say, screw it, I'm going to lose no matter what against this team. And they don't just quit the game, they quit for the entire night. So different games handle skill-based matchmaking with teams a little bit differently. Overwatch, for example, won't allow the highest skilled players to match up with their friends, because if the highest skilled players team up with their other friends who are in the highest skill tier, they'll stomp everybody and everybody will have a miserable time and quit. So kind of going back to what you were saying originally with YouTubers, they tend to be in that really high skill tier, and the danger is actually that if you let them squad up and you don't have a decent skill-based matchmaking system, it's like the Halo 5 scenario, right? They can actually legitimately scare off, in Halo 5, 20 players per hour who just will not play that game anymore because they think they can't win. So yeah, like sort of in summary, skill-based matchmaking, when it's done well, it's invisible. And when it's done well, there's like a very wide range. So you still have a, pretty decent chance of coming around a corner on players of various skills. And when it's too tight and you come around a corner of the same skill every time, you just kill trade and it's not fun. But it gets way bad with team-based matchmaking, which is something that I think, a lot of online shooters have trouble with. It's all about how skill-based matchmaking is implemented, and players won't necessarily rage quit even though they say they're going to, unless it gets really bad, which is probably why Call of Duty and Activision, despite how vocal people are about it, will probably keep it in their game and not get rid of it unless something really bad happens.
Activision's skill-based matchmaking for the last few years has been pretty strict, which is the issue here. But they've also, I'm not sure if you've heard that they can take your information for, all these websites that popped up that show player skill, and you were even able to check in your lobby that you're in the skills of all these players and their rank and stuff like that. That's why I kept calling them diamond lobbies. There are gold lobbies, bronze, and so on. But these websites were shut down almost overnight because Activision put a big blanket over all those stats and returned them back to their private settings, which makes it harder for people to zoom in on cheaters and see, I have 3 hackers in my lobby, blatant hackers that are level 1 million and have 1,000 kills a night. So that's another issue that Activision sort of hasn't really dealt with, aside from just putting a wet blanket over the issue. And sort of ignoring the problem. Hopefully they're fixing the issue, but a lot of these helpful websites were just taken down overnight.
And that's really fascinating because what you're saying is exactly what these studies were saying, which is that it's about perception. If people think a game is unfair, a lot of it comes because the game is not communicating things like their rank to them. And by Activision taking away that information, that means that players are going to perceive matches as more unfair because they have less information. So that's exactly what this guy was talking about. He was saying, you need to tell players where they're at, or they're gonna just assume it's unfair. Or if they get killed, it's because of bad skill-based matchmaking. What has been your experience with skill-based matchmaking? We really want to know how it affects you, so make sure to hop in the comments below and speak up. We're covering a lot more Call of Duty, including a new zombies map called Firebase Z coming up soon, so make sure to head on over to GameSpot and watch all of our other videos on Call of Duty. Thanks for watching.